Hi everyone. In this video, we'll discuss about the information classification. Information classification is the area relates to computer security architecture. First, we'll see what is information. Information is nothing but the processed data. That means if you take C equal to A plus B, and A consists of value 10 and B consists of value 20. If you sum up A plus B, then the result will be stored in C. And we'll call that value of C 30 as an information. That means the processed data is called as information. In today's real world, any organization, it will have a lot of information, starting from low end to high end, and the employee related information and the policy relevant information of the organization and the decision making relevant information of the organization, and so that there is a need of the classification that can be done to the information. And in this regard, information classification process supports disaster recovery planning and also the business continuity planning. A business to run without any hazards, and it needs the information to be classified. And coming to the objectives of information classification, there are several reasons to classify the information. For example, some data in an organization which is having a more value, and some sort of information in an organization which is having a less value. That means the prioritization must be done on the information available in the organization. And some data is more valuable to the high-end management, which can help them to take strategic long-term and short-term decisions. And some sort of information such as trade secrets, the formulas, and new product information are more valuable, and the loss of information will create a more significant problem for an organization in the marketplace. If at all the organization has to evolve for a long term, and they have to make the formulas, and they have to identify the new products that they want to release into the market, and they must be maintained in a confidential manner, and that must not be given to the outside world. The formula of an organization which they are manufacturing the product is known to the outside world, the competitors can design or manufacture the same product and release into the market, which may cause a huge business loss for the organization. So that the main objective of information classification is to enhance confidentiality, integrity, and availability, which minimizes the risk to the information related to the organization. And also, information classification has a longest history in government sector. If you take the death related information of Subhash Chandra Bose, and they are maintaining that information from years, so that that is not revealed to the outside world. And if at all that information is revealed, which may cause some communal problems within India, so that they are not releasing that information into the market. Information classification supports privacy requirements and enable regulatory compliances. If any information related to the organization is released into the outside world, or given to the outside members of the organization, so that they can take some actions upon the members who has revealed that information. The privacy is very much important for the members who are working in the organization. Their personal data and their salary relevant data, and also the other forms of data must be maintained in a secure manner. Information classification benefits. Any organization which is maintaining the information in a cloud system, it has several clear benefits. If at all the organization has to demonstrate to the members within the organization about the security mechanisms, and also the organization must be committed to classify the information. It helps to identify which information is most sensitive or vital to an organization. The organization has to identify different sorts of information at different levels within the organization. It has to classify which information is sensitive, which information is not sensitive. Sensitive information must not be known to other members within the organization. The high level members can know the sensitive information, which helps them to take high level decisions. It also supports the confidentiality, integrity, and availability which pertains to the data. The members within the organization has to maintain a certain sort of information in a confidential manner. All sort of information must not be known to all the employees within the organization. Some members they know that information they have to maintain in a confidential manner. So that the proper authorized authentications are needed to access that confidential information by certain members in an organization. Availability of the information specifies that anytime certain authorized member needs that information can be accessed 24 by 7. It helps to identify which protections apply to which information. Suppose if you take employee salary relevant information that doesn't needs much protection mechanism, and the formulas that are used to manufacture the new products within the organization needs protection, that we can consider it as a sensitive information. And so that a certain protection level mechanisms has to be applied on a sensitive information. It might be required for regulatory compliances or legal reasons. The information classification needs certain compliance or legal reasons. Any a certain member is identified is not accessing the proper information in a authorized manner, has been identified, so that a complaint has been must be raised to the high level management of the organization, so that they can take some legal action against that person who is leaking the information, or who is unauthorizedly revealing the information to the outside persons. Information classification concepts. The information that an organization process must be classified according to the organization's sensitivity to its laws or disclosure. There will be a certain person within an organization who used to identify the information or collect the information, and is responsible for defining the sensitivity level of the data or the information. Based upon that, they have classified terms which can be used within the private organization, that can be applicable to the data that is stored within the cloud. Any organization, it transfers the data to the cloud, and the cloud service provider maintains the data in a secured manner. That is a general thing. But when it comes to the data within the organization, it is having some terms to be which is unclassified information. All the company's information that doesn't fit into any of the important categories can be considered as public data. The public data can be known to any member in a planet, any member in a world. Suppose if you take the information that is disclosed in a website, organization's website, the mission, the vision of the organization, and the departments within the organization, the employees within the organization, and that can be known to any other members in the outside world. And such sort of information is considered as public data. The next category of the data is sensitive data. Information that requires a higher level classification than the normal data is termed as sensitive data. The information in a sensitive data is protected from loss of confidentiality as well as from the loss of integrity. If you consider the classification that applies to the sensitive information that requires special precautions to ensure its integrity so that the protection of the data can be maintained from unauthorized modifications or deletions. If the information that requires the high level accuracy in the sense the data must not be modified in any terms. The sensitive information only can be accessed by the high level management of the organization. The next type of data is private data. This classification applies to personal information of the members within the organization. For example, the salaries of the employees, the medical information of the employees, whereas we have to maintain privacy for that data. Only that employee can only access that private data. Other members in the organization must not access the private data. Next one is confidential data. This classification applies to most sensitive business information that is intended strictly for use within the organization. The confidential data must only be accessed by authorized users, and the authorized disclosure could seriously must not be seriously considered, but the unauthorized disclosure could be seriously considered, and it may impact the organization's reputation, the stakeholders of the organization, and also the business partners and customers within the organization. For example, if you take the formula that can be used to manufacture a certain product is known to the outside world, means the competitors may manufacture that same product and release that product into the market, which cause huge loss to the organization. Ultimately, the shares of that organization will have a huge impact. The stakeholders of the organizations uh, will have a loss, and also the business partners of that organization will also have a huge loss. Such type of information must be maintained confidentially. And in the next video, we'll discuss about the information classification concepts, criteria, and procedures. Information classification concepts. An organization may use certain high, medium, and low level classification schemes based upon the confidentiality, integrity, and availability it uses such type of levels, and the type of the levels, they apply a certain required protective controls on the data. For example, if you take a certain information may require high degree of integrity and availability, but it doesn't need any confidentiality. For that information, a certain required protective control can be applied, or the privileges can be applied. The designated owner of information is responsible for determining the data classification, whether the data belongs to high level, medium level, or low level. And also, they consider the sensitivity of the information. And whenever the information has been compromised, that may impact the organization. And suppose if you take high level data, how much impact will be there, medium level and low level classified data, what type of impact will be there on the organization is explained here. And for high level classified data could cause a loss of life, imprisonment, major financial losses for the organization, and also a legal remuneration uh, for the information is necessary if at all the information is compromised. And for the medium level data could cause noticeable financial loss if the information is compromised. And for the low level classified financial loss or require minor administrative action. These are the different levels of classification defined by NIST for maintaining the information in the organization. Classification criteria. Several criteria may be used to classify the information. The first one is value. Value is the number that can be assigned for any files that are maintained for the information. Suppose if you take organization, it is having so much information. For the employee information will be there, and employee personal information will be there, the product information that they are manufacturing will be there, the formula that they are using information will be there. And they use it to classify that information in different files, and they use it to give a labeling for each and every file. And the labeling will be given some value, the number, and the least number will have the highest priority. And for sensitive information like the formula relevant data file is there, that will be given number one. And employee salaries regarding a file will be there, that will be given number three. And the product relevant information will be there, that will be given number two. And like that, depending upon the levels, high, medium and low, they use it to assign some value for the information. And age. The classification of information might be lowered if information value decreases over time. Suppose if you take any certain information, and they tell that this information can be maintained within the organization for 5 years in a confidential manner, and every year the value of that information will be decreased. Whenever the value reaches zero, that means the 5 years they have to maintain the information in a confidential manner, means 1 year is over, the value comes 4, then 3, then 2, then 1, and when it becomes 0, then they can declassify that information. The example is the medical companies, they are manufacturing the medicines. The company has to use certain formula, and that formula will not be released into the market till 20 years. Once the 20 years period is over, then that formula has to be given to the outside world. Then that formula can be taken by the other members in the market, and they can manufacture the medicines. And now we can see we are having a generic medicine. The generic medicine is nothing but the formula that is released into the market, and they are using and manufacturing at a low cost and selling that medicine at a low cost. And like that, the age can be taken into consideration for the classification of information. Usefulness of the information. uh, Usefulness tells that whenever a new formula has been designed, the old formula will not have any importance. And so that the old formulas, whatever that has been used by the company, they can release into the market or declassify that information. When new information is added in the organization, which is having highest importance, the old information is having a least importance, they can be declassified. And personal association, that information related to individual, and the personal information of an individual must be maintained in a uh, privacy way. And there are certain laws that are framed to maintain the privacy of an individual, and based upon that they have to classify the information. These are the different classification criteria: value, age, useful life, and the personal association with that information. Information classification procedures. And what are the procedures that they have to follow to classify the information? The data custodian is responsible for protecting the information, running the backups, and performing data restoration. There will be a certain administrator in an organization who takes care of all sorts of levels of information and all categories of information that has to be maintained in a cloud servers in a secured manner, and they have to take the backup copies of the data, and also they have to restore whenever a loss happens for the original data. And the criteria for classifying is labeling. For every classified information, as we have discussed in the previous slide, the value must be given for each and every file. Data owner, every individual will have his own data. In an organization, every level will have their own type of data. Subject to that, the supervisor has to verify the individual data, and based upon that, the classification has to be done. And the documentation plays a key role for every sort of information, how you have classified and what criteria you have followed to classify the information has to be documented. And the controls must be applied on the classified data, whether you have to apply a high level control, a medium level control, or the low level control. Specify the termination procedure for declassifying. Suppose the data that you are maintaining in a highly confidential manner up to 5 to 6 years, when new formulas or new products has been designed and has to be used, so that the old products and the old formulas will have least importance, and they have to write certain procedures at what time, at what duration the data can be declassified. And every member in the organization must be aware of the policies that are framed to classify the information, to maintain the information, and which information is sensitive information, which information is confidential information, and which information is public and which information is private. And every member in an organization must have a knowledge on that, and they have to maintain that information in a secure manner. And so that awareness programs must be arranged in an organization about the classification controls. With this, we have completed the information classification concepts.